delete me. The internet can be a crazy place, but you know what? It's full of your data.
He's up. Go ahead.
Crypto asset. Which one's the best crypto asset? Bitcoin's the best crypto asset. Which one's the best? 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 What's the second best?
Is Discover Crypto.
This is Discover Crypto. Thank you, everybody, for joining this very special episode coming live from the Sin City Crypto Studios in Las Vegas, Nevada. We're coming live from the desert. Josh, you were here. We're feeling a little dry. We're feeling a little dusty, but we're feeling excited for the Bitcoin conference. And we got, of course, our crypto stories. We're going to look at the markets. We're going to talk about James Wynn, a.k.a. James Lose. We're going to talk about the ETH treasury. And we have major news with the Circle IPO. And Trump might be buying billions of dollars of Bitcoin, Josh. But how are you feeling today?
You know, not super dry. I don't know why you're feeling so dry. Is it the weather? It's just you're not used to the desert, used to that Florida humidity or that Atlanta humidity.
I lotion up with coconut oil. Like
he does. He's getting those elbows this morning. I saw him. But no, very interesting here with Trump doing a $3 billion purchase. I mean, this is probably one of the most bullish Bitcoin Bitcoin events we've seen here so far. The question is, can we survive the curse of the Bitcoin conference? Because historically, we drop pretty dramatically within about 24 hours from now. So either we need to line up shorts or this time is in fact going to be different here. And there's a lot of altcoin questions coming in the chat here. We'll get to some altcoins here at the end of this episode. Let us know in the comments what altcoin you think I'm going to shout out. I'm going to give you a hit. It does not start with an O.
No way.
Whoa, it's not Ondo?
I didn't say that.
All right, let's also kick it to our guests on the chairs here. You know, this wonderful Sin City Crypto studio. I want to give a big shout out to Sin City Crypto. Make sure you're following their channel. But we also have Kelly and Drew here. How are y'all folks doing?
Oh, man. Couldn't be better.
Drew, you're dressed for Vegas.
I'm like a native. I'm dressed like I live here. It's normal for me. This is my natural environment.
You look like a Texas Hold'em pro.
Yeah, I mean, I've had...
Or a rattlesnake handler. I can't tell which.
I just came from Alabama, dealing with the bears out there. It's kind of crazy. Took the family out on vacation. Left the charts alone for about a week. Gave it a moment here. But back in the, kind of studio and checking out Sin City's studio here. Absolutely awesome location. Very excited to go to the Bitcoin conference and catch as many of the big speeches that we have coming up. JD Vance, the Trump sons are coming up. So and then Cynthia Loomis is one of the main ones that I really want to listen to see, how tangible, how soon this U.S. strategic Bitcoin reserve can actually happen. That's what I'm looking for, is kind of that information.
Yeah, and chat's freaking out. They think Rob looks way different today. That's a little bit of Alabama for you. That's
what? They're calling you Coyote Dundee. I think you got a crypto Dundee thing going.
I could get that going. I did I bought a great knife in Alabama.
Who's the one that wears? That's David Crockett.
This is Crypto S.
The
Thompson.
raccoon on the head.
Crypto S. Thompson, Crypto Dundee.
Oh my God. Yeah, I'm about it.
Looks like chat here, pre-rich saying Bitcoin dropping 5%. We're gonna be talking about what's this guy's name? Jason Wynn?
James
Wynn, James Lose. Okay, we're gonna be talking about those liquidations on Hyperliquid here very, very shortly. But Bitcoin, yes, market update here, guys, back above $110,000, sitting at 110 right now, $200. If we look at that CoinGecko, green for the first time in a while. I mean, we obviously had a great week last week, but we're all truly waiting for, and we're trading this like an MFer in the Discord right now. Ethereum back above $2,600. It's just a fitting number for a fitting city. Sin City 2666. I don't know what's happening here, but Sin City Crypto is rubbing off on us a little bit.
I guess so. Careful saying that phrase in Vegas. Looking at the biggest gainers here, we got Quant moving up, Virtuals moving up, Hyper. What do we got? Injective, Athena, and Aave all doing pretty well. If we look at big losers, Monero, the privacy coin, is down, but just down slightly here, 6.9%. We got Leo and Fartcoin. Sometimes hot air, it ends up dumping. It doesn't.
Now, are you long in that hot air today? Because you seem to have this long fetish with good old Fartcoin.
I don't have my trading account open, so I'm going to stay away for now. We're not going to do the 50x for $50.
Weird. No gambling while we're in Vegas, huh?
I'm gonna save the gambling for the maybe roulette.
Exactly.
Is my goal to
coin slot machine.
I want to walk
True
into a
utility.
casino with a 40x leverage position open and then go hit the table.
Look, I'm saying they need to bring perpetual contracts to the U.S. I would much rather have a slot machine I can go put 40x on and just see if it hits than, actually pull one of those old levers. I think that would be much more exciting. But speaking of gambling, XRP here up $2.34. BNB 260 or sorry, 200. Where did I get that from? $692. Top movers though, last 24 hours. I wanted to talk about this because I haven't seen it have life in a long time. Quant.
Yeah.
It was a stable coin for a long time. Let's actually click on the chart here for Quant, go to the max. Just stuck in a channel for the longest time, then had a nice little exciting period. This is right after the Trump presidency. You can see after he was voted in December, great pump. But if we zoom in and say, maybe let's go to the 3 month here, maybe go to the 1 year, still trying to recapture some of the former glory. I would say, maybe look at this 150 for potential sell. I wouldn't mind selling around that range.
Who still holds quant in the chat is what my question. I still hold quite a few quants, but this was that 2021 move. I have to shout out Crypto Mason. Made a bag of quant back in 21.
But quant's also.
What's up, guys? My name is Steve Weatherford.
Projects from XRP to quant to HBAR. There's a lot kind of competing for the same initiatives in the space. I don't know.
I blame Chainlink. Chainlink was like, you know what? Hold my purse. I'm gonna build everything, and then just come in and be the quiet one. But yeah, quant fell into that ISO narrative, which I actually made a huge play off that, obviously, and that's what I started on TikTok. But Gilbert Verdi, they kind of use that. He's a creator of ISO standards. He's developed, I think it was like T307 or some crazy standard for international banking systems, and so they have that SaaS model perspective and approach. So it's good to see it getting some volume back here. Really, really big community. Number 2, though, Virtuals Protocol.
Yeah.
So we're starting to get some AI movement here, up 11% in the last 24 hours. I'm still shocked that Virtuals and AI really didn't spark this week with Google VO3, just because of the prompt AI videos that are going viral right now, where they're like, "I'm a prompt."
ChatGPT got so much coverage when that broke out, and I feel like I was talking about this with some people on the Mario team. That VO3 is so mind-blowing that it almost feels like it's not an innovation. You're like, that's not even real. I don't think people really tangibly grasp how much it's going to shake the media in general.
And the Mario team, you didn't mean Luigi, Peach, and Bowser, Mario Nawfall. Everybody go follow that for sure. I will say this about the AI. We have fatigue because, from the Will Smiths, it's like, oh, I got another cool thing. 3 months later, oh, it's slightly better. 3 months later, oh, it's slightly better. It's the same effect of the Elon tweets on Doge.
Yeah.
After the 7th cool thing, I'm not going to just go out and buy AI now.
Well, it's kind of like the honeymoon phase is over for like AI and crypto. Like it was March of 2024. We saw even AI adjacent projects do 5, 10x. I mean, that was an ICP even. ICP way outpaced its TVL in terms of price of token. Now that we've seen virtuals and these AI agents, they've kind of took that limelight away. AI, I feel like, is a big narrative, but I like virtuals because it's essentially a platform where a lot of these are being built upon, and I think Solana is going to be one of the main beneficiaries.
That's why I'm so focused on BitTensor, because for me, that's that same thing. It's an ecosystem play where there's also things coming out of BitTensor, but they also have the subnets. They have, it's such a broad community that's like an AI infrastructure play. So you kind of get.
You know who called virtuals about 4 days ago? Old D did. So make sure you're following the channel. Make sure you have on notifications, because we put out in an upload 3 altcoins primed to pump, and then I had 3 riskier counterparts. I was telling you about virtual, so hopefully
I'm so used
jumped
to
in on that.
I thought you were like, I called my virtual girlfriend. I thought you were gonna just totally pivot.
No, I got my real wife here.
Speaking of virtual girlfriend, TJ, where are you at? Are you behind the scenes here today?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm hanging in the background watching them push way more buttons than I have in our studio. So yeah, it's really cool seeing this whole setup. Huge shout out to the Sin City guys. And for those of you guys who don't realize, they actually have way more sets back there. I just posted it on X. So anybody that's in the Las Vegas area, if you're a content creator, make sure to hit these guys up, because it's one of the most professional studios in the whole game. Really appreciate them letting us use their space while we're out here for the Bitcoin conference. But I had a question for you guys. I don't know if you saw the news. I know we've got a lot to cover with the Ethereum pumps and several other things going on. That James Wynn story is crazy, but he claims he's going to make it all back. For those of you guys who don't know, he basically vaporized $80 million on his P&L in about 4 days. So that can't feel good.
Yeah, whenever I
but-
feel down about my portfolio, I just go look at James Wynn.
Yeah, but what I wanted to ask you guys, it came out yesterday at the Bitcoin conference when Michael Saylor was asked specifically about proof of reserves at MicroStrategy. He basically said proof of reserves is a bad idea. It's a security risk. No institutional grade security auditor thinks it's a good idea. And then he compared it to.
I got the quotes here.
Yeah,
so Michael Saylor explains why on-chain proof of reserves are a bad idea. He said it's a bad idea, arguing it weakens security and offers incomplete financial transparency. And so, of course, he's the executive of strategy, and he warned the on-chain proof of reserves may create artificial intelligence-related security hacks. So one of the issues he's having is AI leading the way. And this was, of course, during a panel at the Bitcoin conference. One of the reasons here's this quote: "It actually dilutes the security of the issuer, the custodians, the exchanges, and the investors. It's not a good idea. It's a bad idea." Talking about publicizing your Bitcoin addresses.
Now, TJ, were you going to ask if he's copping out? Was that the question you were going to follow?
No, I was just curious to hear everybody's take on it. I mean, I've seen it's a hot topic right now. I've seen a lot of different perspectives on it.
Here's my take. With a publicly traded company, you have so many accounting rules you must follow. I'm all for it. If you're a private company, it's a little bit easier for you to lie to us. So maybe then I would like to see some public proof of reserves.
Just lie to us. I want 200K Bitcoin.
But DZ, you brought up before we went live, we were talking about this. You made some good points. Could you highlight some of those points that you were talking about with staff, timing, all these different things?
There are types of things where, say you are making some purchases and you see Coinbase Prime movements. You can do certain things where maybe you're tracking employees. Maybe you're seeing, who is in charge of Michael Saylor's big strategy stack. It might make it easier to kidnap some of these
there's more attack
exchange
vectors.
Employees. And, crypto kidnappings are a real thing. So I say there are arguments for it.
I'm going to ask Grok because I'm not an institutional grade, good old hedge fund here, but it looks like, increased attack surface. So public disclosing wallet address makes them prime targets for hackers. There was that, I don't know if you guys saw this over the weekend, the guy that got caught torturing individuals.
Yeah, we've had one every day, I feel like.
Then there's the privacy compromise, like you're mentioning, incomplete financial pictures. Saylor emphasizes that proof of reserves typically only show assets, not liabilities, providing a misleading sense of financial health, potential for exploitation, institutional responsibility. So it seems like there's some valid stances here. I'd have to look up the pros and cons of exactly what this means before I give like an actual opinion on it.
I think it is. There are some valid stances on it, but you could also make some pretty valid points the other direction as well. I mean, I'm sure Bitcoiners in general, the whole premise is don't trust, verify. I agree that you're not going to hold them to a different standard than you hold different publicly traded companies. But the question is there a potential risk of them not holding as much Bitcoin as they can? If it's, I guess they're going to have audits. They're going to have big firms auditing them. So it's reputational risk. But now you've got a counterparty risk claiming to hold Bitcoin, but they're not necessarily going to prove it. I guess the question is, if any of you guys are MicroStrategy holders, do you think it changes people's desire to hold MicroStrategy? Just real quick, give me yes or no all the way around the room. If somebody's looking to invest in MicroStrategy, just give me lightning round. Yes, no. Does this change anything?
No.
I don't think
no.
They see the graph and they just see the performance on the graph. And MicroStrategy or now strategy, I think it's plus 5% or more of the supply, right? Aren't we breaching that level? So
it's 6-ish.
Yeah, it's up to 6%.
Almost 6. Yeah.
That's a huge chunk of Bitcoin to trust it's a public company. So I agree with you on the public company highlight.
Yeah, they have the SEC to answer to.
Right. So at least we have that aspect of it. But we are getting to this phase where the concentration of Bitcoin has been making me uneasy ever since they breached 2%. Now we're at 6%. It's making me more and more uneasy now that they're kind of stacking. And honestly, like we haven't even started the nation state reserves movements. So you're going to have much more powerful players coming into the space. And, I think that proof of bill that Chainlink was working on is something that we need to think about pretty seriously. But I'll also have to balance the threat of that AI tracking that Saylor was talking about as well.
Yeah, and the proof of bill though specifically, I think is being positioned towards stablecoin issuers, which I still think that should 100% be transparent, back to back U.S. dollar. Like we need to make sure that that monetary supply is backed 1-to-1.
Right.
Not just obviously for just financial infrastructure reasons, especially if we're going to have state reserves, national reserves, etc.
Right.
I think to the private corporation here, it's 100%. Like I don't know. I think there's a level of compliance that we need to meet. Maybe what I would say the answer would more or less probably be a third party that's ran.
Let me ask you all this: Have you
ever
cared how much cash is on? Say Apple has $100 billion. Did you ever care? I need to see the bank account.
Not within them, no. I've only thought about that within banks.
But
right?
it's technically Apple, Amazon, they ran out of cash deficit for a very long time. They weren't even profitable.
We should have been asking those questions.
Well,
right when their valuations are up and to the right, and then
that's
they're
part of the speculation. That's part of the fun.
right. Yeah, I mean, this is something that ever since March of 2020, the banks were required to hold zero in terms of their backing for our little funny money.
They should change it. It's no longer fractional reserve. It should be like not backed by shit banks. That's what it should be called.
Yeah. Right. It's the financial system's wild. Everything's just based off debt. So at the end of the day, it's like,
well, I wanted Bitcoin and crypto to come in here and like prove that value is there, right? And that the energy has been spent to mine the Bitcoin, and that they actually hold the Bitcoin. But now we have Michael Saylor and this major company holding over 6%, now worried about their security for their personnel, which is understandable. But the proof of the transparency of Bitcoin, I think that ethos.
But doesn't this perfectly highlight what we want to see in crypto and blockchain? Because if we're worried about all these third party and counterparty risks, something like the proof of reserve sort of deal with for stablecoins, but with using Chainlink or some other blockchain to obfuscate, so nobody can actually see the keys, wallets, or where it's at, but it is provably this is held by this institution in this amount. It seems like that this is a perfect case in this case for something like that to be deployed.
It's what a lot of the industry thought was a solution to fractional banking ended up being the solution for fractional banking. So it's like now it's just fractional banking 2.0, because from a retail perspective, we're like, yeah, of course we want.
No, I'm talking specifically about MicroStrategy's holdings.
Oh,
that counterparty.
Gotcha.
That should all be verified. Yeah.
So we're just tokenizing the debt and making it cheaper, quicker, faster, better. So that way we can just take on more debt, which is.
It makes number go up.
That's MicroStrategy's entire business model is based off that.
It makes number go up, but it doesn't fulfill my ethos in crypto to have backing actually come to the monetary system. I think that this is a problem.
But you want to go like back on a gold standard.
Or a gold being, a basket of gold in Bitcoin, and we still haven't gotten the gold audit.
Well,
where's the gold audit?
I don't think the bankers would allow it. I think they'll ship a giant cruise liner to make sure that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
But, anyways, let's talk about this Titanic conference that we have right now. It's called the Bitcoin conference. It is the reason we're here in the Sin City crypto.
We're in the desert. I think that's gonna be pretty hard this year.
Well, there's some ice, but that's just the people smoking meth on the sidewalks.
We saw a few.
It's different type of ice there, But no, we're here for the Bitcoin conference, of course, everybody, Bitcoin conference. But what happens at the Bitcoin conference? Oftentimes it leads to a giant dump in the markets here. You can see last conference sparked a 30% price crash. Can the bulls escape this year? And we have the targets if it does hit this. So Bitcoin rebounds from another support retest, but fears over Nashville Bitcoin conference induced come down are growing. The biggest Bitcoin gathering tends to accompany price weakness. So we tend to get some Bitcoin dumps every time we have a little conference here. So July 24 at Nashville, Tennessee, we ended up creating a nice little 30% drawdown, went from 70K all the way to 49K. So what does a 30% drawdown look like here? If we end up falling a 30% retracement, would put Bitcoin back at 77,000.
Oh my God.
Right around the area, said its multi-month bottom in April. So
please give me that.
There's your, okay. You got more dry powder on the side?
I got plenty. I mean, we traded out of the 75K dip up to where we are right now. I mean, I took last week off of trading, but I would absolutely love that. I mean, like these pullbacks have never been more comfortable for me in crypto because I see all the states already moving towards their state reserves. I see the countries moving towards their state reserves or their nation state reserves. So last cycle in 2021, at about February, we had a 30% pullback, but we also had Operation Choke Point 2.0 happening. And there was a vile move from banks to take crypto out. We don't really have that problem anymore. So these major pullbacks in this season, I'm absolutely taking.
I'll tell you the craziest thing I saw was Bitcoin was announced as legal tender for El Salvador in 2021 Bitcoin conference. Bitcoin dumped.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some of the most bullish news I've ever heard in my life regarding Bitcoin. And still,
yeah, but I don't see. I could see that it's very possible. That's a known, area on the chart, but I don't see us going to 77 from here. I see if we get a washout to the downside. I think people are going to be watching the CME gaps down in the low 90s, and because of that, I think we'll actually wash out beyond that, somewhere about 87, 88. But that's what I see if we get a pullback. But this is also on the heels, not just the Bitcoin conference here in Vegas, but also this last 3 days of news on the geopolitical news. Is this? I'm actually surprised Bitcoin's doing so well with
100%.
what we see with Trump and Putin and NATO changing rules for how far you can fire into Russia. I mean, there's so much going on that, and the price is like, I'm a honey badger. I don't give a shit.
And, those who don't know, NATO forces tried to take down Putin's helicopter, and to me that should spook a market. And so, yeah, maybe we are doing pretty.
It was kind of weird that we didn't see that big pullback from it, right? Like maybe the news cycle and people's fear levels have been kind of normalized to that. And the expectation of peace was seemingly vanished over the weekend with Trump's comments about Putin. Putin obviously probably not too happy about those drones coming after his helicopter.
I mean, NATO drones try to attack me. I wouldn't be happy.
But let's be honest. I feel like the mainstream news media right now is just trying to figure out what to cover because there's so much happening every day from the Trump administration. They're like, we don't know which story to focus on.
Yeah, by the time they end up piecing it together, he's already on 3 different things.
It just also drained the meeting of fear. Like it's like fear mongered so much. So I mean, I guess we can thank CNN and MSNBC for the first time ever.
I know they're poking
That's
this.
kind of a plus.
Yeah, we're just numb.
We're just numb at this point. We're like, as long as there's not a nuke, I guess we're still fine.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of nuke, Trump might be dropping a nuke on Bitcoin markets with this latest news. What you got, TJ?
Well, I was just going to say on the price thing, I was going to come back to if one of you could pull up the M2 money supply chart that shows the Bitcoin price over that, because I really do think it is that easy right now. I would love if we could get, like 77K sounds great, but I don't think we're going to see anything close to that.
Yeah, because the M2 doesn't pull back enough.
Yeah, I don't even think we're going to get to 90Ks. I think we will continue to pump the rest of this year. I don't think we're going to see a big conference dump, so to speak. I do know there's huge announcements coming out tomorrow, and I believe we're going to see them be around the Bitcoin lending space, and to see with the bills that are being passed with banks and stable coins and all that sort of stuff, we're going to see Bitcoin not need to be sold like no other time in history. The miners aren't going to be selling Bitcoin like they have in the past. Normally,
they're making money off fees now as well.
Well, they're making money off,
and they're raising money to have Bitcoin treasuries,
cash for their assets. All these Bitcoin treasury plays. That's what we're going to be talking about here a little bit. Is the Trump media launching a $2.5 billion to raise money based on their Bitcoin treasury. That didn't exist in years past. So what would happen is they knew the hype of the conference was coming. You let all the big announcements come out, and then you sell into the news so that way you could fund your operation for the next 3 to 4 years. That reality is over now, and we're seeing huge pumps in the money supply, the kind of business cycle or the debt cycle, so to speak, that's happening. And I think we might see some slight pullbacks, but I think it's going to be hard to get below 100K again. I agree with Kelly that maybe there's a scenario in the 90s with some of these CME gaps that could play out. No, either way, I'd be excited about it. But I really do believe we're going to hit all-time highs throughout this week during the conference. And really all of June is going to be exceptionally bullish, not just for Bitcoin, but Ethereum as well.
Well, to your point, Jack Mallers also is going to be making an announcement. He's always had good announcements, but now he has 21 Capital with Kenner Fitzgerald and Howard Lutnick. And it's going to be like, what if they change what their buy strategy is? And they say, hey, we're actually going to be buying 100 billion of Bitcoin in the next 2 years or something like that.
Well, there's a huge, insane level of competition going on. That's the theme of the conference is the game theory. Let the game theory play out, and it's happening. We're seeing companies and institutions, the best capital raisers in the world, Larry Fink, Cantor Fitzgerald, Metaplanet in Japan, they're raising capital faster than ever to buy Bitcoin. Trump and the Trump families, all of them buying billions and billions of dollars of Bitcoin as fast as they possibly can. That reality is playing out now. You've got UAE buying stuff and states buying things, pension funds. Like the amount of capital that's on the sidelines. I wish I had the stat in front of me right now. I think it's something like $7 trillion sitting in money market.
It's like 7.24.
$7.2 trillion.
A lot of money in risk-off markets, ready for a risk-on environment.
Yeah, and
exactly.
I did pull it up.
Money waiting.
I definitely don't want to say never say never in terms of I pulled up the CME gaps. For anybody that doesn't know what a CME gaps is, the futures gap on the Chicago Mercantile Exchange. They're all the way down towards 96K and 91K. And I do agree. I think it'd be really hard to hit that. But I just want to remind everybody, people thought we would never fill the 77K again.
The CME gap at 96 did have a wick run through it, though. It just didn't close the candle body within that, but you did have the wick. We still have the one that's wide open at 92, though.
96 still has quite a bit left.
But you got to remember
Right
too,
here.
we weren't when we were filling those gaps to the downside
We don't
before.
see
We
it.
weren't printing
right
money
here.
like we are today. I mean,
Yeah.
Well, we're still not printing money in the U.S.
Well, it doesn't. I'm talking about in the world.
Well, I have that.
Look
I
at
have
the
that
M2
chart, the
money
M2
supply.
global
here's
liquidity.
here's the
as well.
CME chart. I want to just so everybody can see it in the room real quick. So there's we have this gap right here, which is at 96. This is at 96.6, and then the bottom one is 91.850.
Yeah, I mean, the one that doesn't have a wick running through it at 92 is the one that worries me more than the one above us.
So you think that this one filled enough?
Yeah, by the
Well,
wick.
because there's a wick on the first candle that goes all the way up, and then that's technically there's been liquidity that's explored that area already.
Okay, so this is not as heavy.
No, the 92 one still is wide open. You know, in the 92 one, I'm like short-term hopeful for. I mean, I see the chat like these guys are never bearish. I just want to see pullbacks during an actual verified bull market like we're in to take advantage for trading, because this is where I can kind of hammer in to new trades with a lot of conviction when I see it hit those very important levels. You know, we've had a lot of really good upside on, honestly, with the amount of news coming out that TJ and DZ and Josh are talking about.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be surprised if we hit 115 this week.
Yeah, and you know, for people that are saying that we're never bearish, well, one, we wouldn't be in crypto if we were bearish. You know, it's more or less just understanding your key levels and saying, okay, if a pullback does happen, say a retracement did take place or a 30% drawback did happen, which let's not like this isn't our first rodeo. This ain't our first cycle. You guys know this. 30% pullbacks are historically just like accurate. Like you have 5 to 7 per cycle. So it's, you know, it's understanding those key levels so I don't FOMO into the top and I can dollar cost average and accumulate when we have those significant pullbacks. If you guys are in the Discover Crypto Discord, I mean, man, we're just crushing it with back-to-back trades in there right now. It's just understanding those key levels lets you position yourself for whatever happens next. So, you know, looking at the what did you have pulled up?
You have
I got the M2.
money
I got.
supply.
Yeah, we're gonna
This
look at the
next chart,
Gaussian channel, Michael.
You want
Don't worry about
bullishness.
that.
Here's your bullishness. This is your put that gas mask on real quick and get a little.
Yeah, wait till you see what this M2 pullback has us at. This is going to make you very, very bullish for Bitcoin. So you can see, you know, a little bit of a pullback right here on the M2 money chart. That's still only going to around 100K. We might shoot up to the 120s and then the pullback, assuming it follows this. We don't think it's going to follow it exactly, of course, but the pullback has a target of about 115. So, you know, maybe just keep in mind a possibility 125 pullback to 115.
I actually don't have this answer. Maybe somebody in this room does. Maybe TJ does as well. But, you know, China like changed a lot of the M2 money supply charts are like exaggerated right now because China rechanged the definition. So is this including that change in definition?
I'm not entirely sure. I do know what you're talking about though. This could be a little bit bullish, but at the end of the day, it's following this pattern.
Yeah.
So maybe we need to just respect this pattern.
Well, we're
here.
expecting the Feds to cut here towards the latter half of the year. We're also, which is just going to create more liquidity. So it's definitely we're in an uptrend for sure, not a downtrend.
All right.
That's kind of the
Honestly, I hope the Fed doesn't cut. I hope we just have our basic bull market.
You don't want the Fed to cut.
You know what?
Cut the Fed.
No, because if they don't cut until 2026, then that would also give us the possibility, even stronger
Extended
possibility
cycle.
of really pushing up through, you know, all the way into summer next year.
And we're following a generalized bull market in crypto. Let's have our bull market in crypto. I use those gains to go hammer into real estate at high interest rates and come in with cash.
Yeah. All right. Well, speaking of cash, I think Trump's about to spend a surplus of cash on Bitcoin. Everybody, we got a couple stories we still got to get into. Trump Media announces a $2.5 billion Bitcoin treasury plan. This is going to be part of this deal with Trump Media. So the company behind True Social, True Plus, and Truth.fi has just confirmed $2.5 billion private placement deal aimed in part of building one of the largest Bitcoin treasuries of any public company to date. Now, this according to their official press release. It's going to have about $1.5 billion in common stock and $1 billion in debt. And then they're going to use this to create, with their cash on hand, $3 billion of dry powder, providing the firepower to begin its crypto treasury strategy in earnest. And so now we're seeing a nice little pump here. Trump Media plans to treat Bitcoin as a core balance sheet asset, sitting alongside cash and short-term investments. And, you know, we talked about the cash on hand already. They already have $759 million reported at the end of Q1. So we might see $1 billion in the near term, making it one of the most significant corporate pivots towards Bitcoin this entire cycle, maybe ever.
Well, and this is after the back and forth in 24 hours of, oh, no, I don't know where you got these news sources. This is not happening. The next day, okay, press release, we're actually doing about $3 billion.
He's keeping it on the edge of your seat, right? With the changes.
Someone got fired on that inner circle.
Yeah.
Yes, it's probably going to lead to
lobbyists for Ripple that is now blacklisted.
Well, it's a multi-billion-dollar company. You know, this is way bigger than a lot of the other things we've seen. Trump Media, I think it's worth like 4-point-something billion bucks. But adopting this kind of Bitcoin treasury from Trump's standpoint, and really, we haven't even seen. Have we seen the GameStop buys yet?
No,
I know GameStop raised multiple.
They have. I think the date is coming up. Like I think it's into the early June, isn't it?
Like, they have like $4 or $5 billion in.
They have a lot of cash.
I don't think the board wants them to. I think he's trying to beg the board to let him, and they won't let him. That's my guess. I think we should have seen purchases.
Michael Saylor, like, I'm gonna do it.
He's like, come on, guys, it's under 80K.
Well,
I
don't think we see the purchases until they do their earnings.
Well, it's every 3 months.
Is the board ran by Germans or something?
We should see it by now.
Life is expensive.
Home prices, paying rent,
Medical bills. It's a lot.
News here. We also have an ETH treasury that's leading to, maybe that's why we're seeing ETH pump here. So it's called SharpLink. It's a crypto, gambling site, basically.
This one was interesting.
They're launching an ETH treasury, and they're tapping one of the former ETH founders as a board chair here. This is going to be a $425 million equity deal to launch their Ether treasury, and appointed Ethereum co-founder Joseph Lubin as the board member. And if you don't know, Ethereum is the protocol. Ether is the coin, only by Pedantics, though. So betting platform has launched their ETH-based corporate treasury strategy and nominated them for the board. This is just today. According to this announcement, the publicly traded company on NASDAQ entered into this agreement here to spend $425 million. ETH infrastructure firm Consensus, some say one of the more powerful entities in all of crypto, was among the investors. If you traded with a MetaMask, Consensus can find your social security number more often than not. It's very, very centralized. SharpLink stock is now up 400%, changing hands at $33 when it was just trading $7 yesterday.
Yeah.
So more and more corporations are going to see this. They're seeing what Trump's doing. They're seeing what they're doing with ETH treasuries with other companies. I think the dominoes have fallen, and now it's just how fast are more dominoes going to fall.
Well, and I think this is gonna. I think ETH's gonna catch quick. This is why people that don't think Ethereum is gonna hit 5K again are crazy, because once staking's implemented as well, and like all of a sudden, like now their treasuries are earning kind of this yield aspect on top of it too. I think it's a phenomenal corporate structure. And then with, again, that risk V or risk 5, however you want to pronounce it, if you're a nerd and want to correct me, go for it. But integrating and taking back those transaction fees to put them on the L1 from Ethereum, as that rolls out in the next 2 years, Ethereum is a dominant player when it comes to tokenization. So it just makes sense. And you already see this happening because the same institutions that are backing themselves with Bitcoin are like asking, how do we get yield opportunity? This is why a lot of ecosystem, Charles Hoskinson doing this with like Cardano, integrating to Bitcoin, offer DeFi yield products. They're going to have to compete with that yield aspect as well as these treasuries become more established. And if ETH's sitting at $2-3 trillion market cap, it's just an obvious hedge to have in that portfolio.
Y'all ready to talk about a bullish ETH story?
Let's talk about some bullish. I mean, I want to talk about
ready for some moon targets here?
Absolutely. Let's go.
All right. Well, someone talking about that Gaussian channel. We got the news for you here. So ETH flashes alt season signal as we're eyeing a $4,000 ETH here. So they're looking at the combined altcoin market cap minus Ether surge 1,400% and 200% following this certain signal. And it's when it closes above a certain Gaussian channel threshold. We'll explain what that means in a second. So the reclaim the key level that led to 100+% rallies and triggered past alt seasons. The level in question is the midline of the Gaussian channel. And this is a moving average band that tracks long-term momentum on a 2-week chart. So it's looking at basically a simple moving average on the 2-week chart. And you can see a little bit of a midline here. When it goes below the midline, we get a little bit of bearish activity. When it goes above, we get nice little pumps. I mean, look what happened here when it shot above. Huge rally. Look what happened here. Nice little rally. And now we're passing above the Gaussian channel again. Last time it went from $400 to $4,800. The next time went from $1,500 to $4,000. And now the upper hand sitting around $3,200. So that would give us, maybe a breakout to around $4,100
by July.
DZ,
Smell like alt season.
I think ETH is going to be one of the most hated alt rallies this cycle because it's been such a ETH is dead. It's this. I think it's still going to probably perform. I would say low range 7 to 8. I think it could melt some faces and hit that 10K mark.
Yeah.
The question is going to be though, is everybody looking at this like it's only going to be the 4-year cycle and the cycle is going to be done by October, or is this going to continue to persist and build into 2026 and get like very large runs, not only in ETH and a lot of all your favorite altcoins, especially for all my dogs out there?
Let me ask you a very serious question then. Are people that are bearish on Ethereum retarded?
Yes.
Dude, when you look at the data, okay, here's the deal. Stop looking at the price and being a fanboy and I hope price goes up or scared price go down. Look at the price only as a data point as it relates to everything else. And when you look at what's going on with DeFi, when you look at how much activity is going on, you see over the last, I think, year, just a steady increase in active addresses on Ethereum. The amount of money and focus within the ETH ecosystem outside of the influencer YouTube space, that is where institutions are focusing their capital in the altcoin space.
Yeah, let's pull it up actually. RWA.xyz chat. You know, we've been talking about this since a beautiful $10 million. That's it. Today, US Treasuries now 7.09 billion. Again, all almost on top of Ethereum there. But when you look at that market overview, man, this thing was like $1 billion when we first started looking at this. $23 billion now on chain here, tokenized. And that is, again, an overwhelming majority to Ethereum, which you can see right here, literally most of it. Then you have ZK Sync. And then surprisingly, like the XRP, they put XRP on here finally. Number 10, Stellar dwarfs XRP
That's
by about $5.
Probably Dubai leading.
Oh, yeah, it is the real estate. It is the real estate.
Dubai.
Yeah, that's probably exactly what was integrated here today. So, yeah, very interesting as well. This is like this is what you want to pay attention to. These are your institutions.
But this is a little bit of a difference in this market for altcoins is that Ethereum has very stiff competition. Solana is coming at it with very stiff competition in the terms of AI infrastructures being built on Solana. Now they're going after the DeFi aspect of it, opening up that 18 billion through Chainlink for DeFi on Solana. But then Solana stood on its own with memes, right? So Solana is kind of this 3-headed hydra that Ethereum has to compete with. And I think, my outlook for Ethereum is still around like the $6,000 to $7,000 mark.
Well, what if Solana ends up ultimately just becoming the retail participants Ethereum? And Ethereum is the institutional.
That's what I was going to say. Like the Ethereum, yes, there's other players competing in the EVM space. There's other chains trying to do some of what Ethereum does. But anybody that says Ethereum's dead is a moron. Yes. Josh's first question. I mean,
they should say,
every
my
other
name is
metric
Jeff.
you can measure, whether it's total value locked, whether it's wallets, whether it's users, whether it's infrastructure, whether it's security. It dwarfs it. So Solana is competing with it somewhat, but Ethereum has a huge lead in all metrics. And I did want to come back to what DZ was talking about with that channel. I think the price of Ethereum is going to move very quickly. You can just go to CoinGecko and look at the 1 year, and it's just basically sitting on a massive bull flag that plays out very bullish every time. So I think we see that $4,000 Ethereum very soon, potentially in the month of June. In the next 30 days, we see a $4,000 Ethereum, and it does continue to climb up. I think other tier 1 chains, Solana, Avalanche, that are trying to compete, they'll do well also. But there's plenty of capital on the sidelines, and there's plenty of opportunity within this space to have multiple top performers. Now, when it comes to tokenized assets, nobody's really even getting close.
Yeah, and that is I have a question for you guys here because I don't hold this project at all, but I've heard a lot about it. Like I like clicking on these, and I just realized something with Aptos, which is Aptos is quiet. Like, and actually, if you want, we'll pull up Aptos chart in just a second as well. When you click through these, you can actually see like, okay, well, with the $7 billion in real-world assets, like what's being held by that, right? So Tether holds, you could see like how much is being held through each of these companies, BlackRock, Tether, Circle, etc. When you go to Aptos, this one's interesting to me, and I haven't clicked on this in a while. But if we go, actually, where did I just go? Market overview. You scroll down, click on Aptos. Top 3, Tether, Circle, Pact, and BlackRock, which is very interesting to me. Maybe we got to do a deep dive in Aptos.
Yeah.
I haven't paid attention to anything Aptos.
Well, it's been overshadowed by Sui.
It got dwarfed by Sui.
Yeah.
Did you see Sui also just had a application for ETF from 21 Shares?
No, Aptos
Sweden,
is,
yeah.
Yeah, this
Aptos
no
going to the target.
SWE and Aptos.
Dude, look
you know,
at this
just,
chart.
Just to back it up a little bit, SWE and Aptos have a little bit of a shared history. Both those were founded by ex-Meta engineers, formerly known as Facebook, and Meta had a stablecoin plan that was going to use like a basket of currencies to create like a global stablecoin. It was called the Libra. It was the DM team, and they offshot, and one created SWE, one created Aptos.
And that's a matter of just such timing.
Hidden gems,
because had they waited a year, there would have been such the better landscape of stable coins being the thing.
Yeah.
It was like, I mean, it's a multi-hundred billion, if not $1 trillion
They
mistake
had to
on
tighten
timing.
the belt after the pitch or the pivot to Meta, the pivot to metaverses. A lot of the shareholders were quite upset with Mark Zuckerberg, and he had to roll back a lot of his grand ambitions and really hyper focus on their social media companies.
I don't feel bad for him. He's still a multi-billionaire.
Yeah.
So, you know, oh well. Oh, he lost it.
He's got a rebrand now, though. Now he's kind of cool, right?
Now he's chill, dude. Nice.
Oh.
Actually, okay, I'd have to give Mark the credit where it's due, though. Like, I think what he's doing is significantly.
He did jujitsu and he got his testosterone up.
Just like the going after the glasses and that visual, that's the only way AR VR is going to happen.
Yeah,
they work pretty good.
If
I
he
got
doesn't,
them right
yeah,
here.
they work fantastic.
These things are great,
and they're
man.
only going to get better. So I think that's like.
I was translating my Uber driver's conversation with me live.
Yeah,
you know,
that's insane.
Did you hear sleeper cell or anything?
No,
like
we were
that?
talking about tasers. Okay, so I saw an Algorand holder at the airport getting tased by police
Wait, really?
on the way into Vegas
I
for the
didn't know he was an
Bitcoin
algo
conference because he was screaming, "Let go my algo"
Oh.
at the airport. So shout out to the algo holders. You lost one on the way in
I
here.
thought he
but,
moved to Oregon or Washington. Never mind. Sorry.
but the Meta glasses, they work pretty good. Yeah, and yet you brought up something pretty important. It's like they lost a lot of market value. And he seemingly wasted a bunch of money in AI, but honestly, like AI is just getting started. The infrastructure for it is going to be here. They're going to replace many, many different aspects of the world as we know it with AI. And these are the eggs that you got to break to make an omelet. It's going to cost billions of dollars for these companies. They're going to do it anyways because they have a long-term outlook on rolling those protocols.
Well, speaking of stable coins, is a good segue here. Breaking news. I know you like the breaking news. Circle has filed for an IPO on the New York Stock Exchange this morning. We have some of the details here. So they want to raise up to $624 million. We talked about this being a rumor. They have filed the paperwork as of this morning. And of course, they're the second largest stablecoin. It's USDC, if you don't know what Circle is. And they filed to go public. And this is going to generate a lot of money. And if you look at the players involved, this is making me think this is actually going to happen, everybody. JP Morgan, Citigroup, Goldman Sachs, along several other co-managers. So now maybe no XRP buying.
That's what I was thinking. It's like,
can we talk about XRP for a second? Like, not even from like we're just going to hate on XRP. Okay. It just, every single rumor that is started about XRP is a lie.
I would say they did try. I would say they did try.
No, they tried, but Ripple, Circle came out and said that it was a lie, that there was inside conversations on this purchase. It's true that they went after the acquisition.
Yeah.
But then all of the creators came out afterwards saying there's like all these inside discussions for $11 or $20 billion purchase. Circle themselves came out and go, that didn't happen.
Well, they're great at creating the narrative.
Oh, they're the best at creating.
Yeah, and
they're the best. They have the
Garlinghouse will,
by far.
spin some idea out, and then he's got 10, 20,000 creators out there to compound the message. And then all the new investors, they type in crypto into YouTube, they get pounded by a bunch of XRP titles, they click into it, they buy it, they maybe hit a 2x this cycle.
XRP is the strongest community by far. It is like
Cardano.
No,
Cardano.
XRP dwarfs the
No.
Cardano community.
No.
Who's a bigger
Okay, what's Cardano's narrative?
XRP is a larger community.
No.
Cardano has a more
what is
fervent,
Cardano's one
feverish-
sentence?
I agree.
One sentence. I'm gonna prove this. One sentence. What is Cardano's value?
Charles as a leader.
XRP,
the largest
will be the
decentralized
world
protocol
currency.
in the world, the largest
XRP will
governance
be the world
protocol in the
currency.
world.
XRP
the
will be
first
the world
generation
currency.
for blockchain.
Flip of a switch.
$45 billion
Flip of a
can't
switch.
be increased.
Going to replace Swift.
The largest blockchain that's never had downtime. Suck it, Bitcoin.
I'm in love with Brad Garlinghouse.
Okay,
I'm just kidding.
I'm going with Cardano on that one all day, every
I
day.
lost him. He's like, we got a Cardano troop over here, but I think if we were to put 100 Cardano, I was going to do the 1 to 100 group.
just so everybody knows, this is about the community. We're not talking about specifically, is one chain better than the other?
No, just
we're talking about
stronger.
the value of the strength of the community, because that does move markets in major ways. We've seen that over the life of all altcoins. The dominant narrative has been for their price action is how active is their community.
And Cardano is pretty strong, but like when I go on TikTok, like every TikToker on TikTok that talks crypto,
XRP or shit.
None of it's Cardano. And that's like my point. Like when I go on social media and if I'm scrolling through crypto, like what am I going to see more of? And not on DZ's algorithm, but just on just a fresh page. Like I know almost every single influencer on TikTok. They're all XRP maxis, all ISO 222, that BS standard, the flip of the switch. But maybe YouTube.
I'll say there's the main difference between a Cardano maxi and an XRP maxi. XRP maxis oftentimes they're like in and out of crypto, and they're like, I bought some 5 years ago. I don't, I guess I could find it. Cardano, they're like eating, sleeping, breathing ADA daily.
There's way more upside in Cardano than XRP, man. Just from market cap size right now, that's a lot of the XRP community needs to acknowledge that 68 billion tokens will be out by the end of this year.
I got it. This is what it is. Cardano is the gorilla. XRP is 100 men.
That's what I was. Thank you. That's what I was trying to put that.
Yeah, that's exactly what he was saying.
That was exactly. I stalled, but that was really good.
The math matters so much on XRP.
I was stuttering.
Like if XRP can double its market cap and get to 300 to 400 billion, that's a $4 or $5 XRP.
And again, I'm not talking like for the community. Let's take the poll here with chat. 1, if you think Cardano is more popular. 2, if you think XRP is more popular. And we're talking about.
Oh, I didn't say that. It's a larger community. It is more popular. That's not what I'm saying.
So, because I would agree, Cardano's DeFi ecosystem way more robust. Way like the XRP activities.
XRP community is larger. Cardano community is stronger.
Yeah.
And that's
I said more
to that point, somebody was asking about it in the chat. They said, how come you guys aren't talking about this specific news story? Just so you all know, there's probably 300 things we see a day that we're like, how do we cut this down to the things that we can only talk about this stream? Because I know we're going to talk about it this week. There's some big news coming out with Midnight, isn't there?
Yeah, and we're going to see Cardano potentially doing a Bitcoin DeFi demo led by Charles Hoskinson like next 2 days. So
we'll have
see.
a lot of alpha on Midnight, guys. I promise.
But let's get into the craziest lore.
Oiled up fight.
I've seen.
No wrong. Screw karate
story.
combat. Oil combat.
Maybe member stream, right? But let's get into the craziest crypto lore we've seen in a while. It's not the crypto kidnappings. It's James Nguyen. Some are calling him James Lose. This is just going to take a second here. So James Nguyen, he was the 40x Bitcoin whale, betting a lot of money on the markets here. He's a good example why you should never trade based on emotions. A week ago, literally ruling the crypto market from the 5th to the 23rd, his profit and losses, his P&L went from $5 million to $87 million in profit. Then excessive greed took over. He started opening billion-dollar positions, and market makers started to hunt him. In the past 4 days, from 87 million, his P&L has dropped 75 million.
Oh.
And the thing that's worse, after losing money, he's trying to revenge trade and make it all back in one trade. You'll learn a few things from this. When you win big, take a break. But he's commented. We have his post from this morning. For all my haters out there who so very much love to see my portfolio swing down by 60 million, just so you know, now you get to see it swing back up into the hundreds of millions. I repeat, hundreds of millions. Money that haters like you can't even dream of having because it's so far out of your capabilities. But enjoy the show.
Here's
Popcorn
the deal.
emoji.
No one's.
Here's the deal, though. There's some ego involved here, clearly, because there's ways to take these trades that don't put them on such a public blast. Of course, everything's on chain, but when you're doing things on the hyper-focused, hyper-liquid, they're tracking every one of those major trades. So there's some element here that I don't know what he's getting at. In fact, I think DZ, you had some thoughts on this as well. I wouldn't be surprised if this was only one component of his strategy, because a lot of times when you have major players, they have capital in different exchanges across different platforms, and sometimes they will do a spot trade on one exchange and leverage trade the opposite direction on the other.
There is
that's what leverage is for. It's not so we can go 40x our entire portfolio and basically go broke overnight. You're supposed to use it as a hedge without having to use all your capital on trade to hedge your positions.
Yeah, it might be him. There was a large whale counter trading with millions. There's allegations it was him counter to hedge his bets.
Yeah, I mean, just take your wins, and when you're up. I mean, here's the deal: is you make money slowly and you protect it quickly in crypto. That's how you actually get rich. You don't port your whole portfolio into a leverage trade and then wake up and you're up 10x and then you just keep going, get another 10x.
Not 11x?
Right. And that it's an addicting thing to start winning. But if you learn to take a lot off the table and fight lean and mean, and then take all the profits, put them into spot, put them into real estate, put them into cars, whatever you need in your real life, and then keep fighting with that lean, mean portfolio in Tether. That's how I've learned to continue printing Tether for myself. That's just a good way to think about it.
I don't hate the guy. I just think at $87 million, dude, go retire. Go put that in ETF and make literally $4 million a year.
Yeah, he was 80 million profit and then just boom, just wiped out.
I would have just taken that out and then restarted with a new $1 million position.
Yeah.
Just like, even if that got wiped out, you're making more.
Prove it again.
I tell you what happened. He wanted to hit 100 million. That's exactly what happened.
He went on crypto banter. He's seeking attention.
I bet he wanted to hit 100 million though.
100%.
He was at 87. He's like, oh, I'm right there. I'm just going to get up to 100.
If you get to 100 million, what's stopping you from wanting 200?
Oh, he would.
But this points out something clear. This points out something clear in the market, though. We need to be more focused on what is my strategy based on my time horizon, based on my risk profile, based on my needs, versus I think there's a lot of noise going on right now when we're seeing this guy made this or this guy lost this. I think it's a bit convoluting to people's idea because they see somebody taking $100 million trade on a long, they're like, oh, I got to go long. And as you know, we have a different strategy than he does clearly because he's longing an area that I'm like, that's a short. And he's shorting an area. I'm like, dude, what the hell are you doing? That's a breakout reversal pattern. Why are you shorting?
Yeah.
All right. And we are going to go ahead and wrap up. We got to go ahead and pass the studio back to Sin City Crypto. Someone is asking, let me just go ahead and throw up Sin City Crypto's YouTube here. Make sure you're following great channel, great content. So if you're new here, this wonderful studio, this is all Sin City. So make sure you're subbed. I want to see a bunch of subs start pouring in, everybody. And someone's asking about Zebra. Whoa. Look at that. But if you go to the 7-day, it still looks pretty good. Okay. Good job there. Yeah, so it went on.
Yeah. If you zoom out, it's going to be.
If I had a guess, that's market makers maybe front running some news there. So I don't know if the pump is already in.
And real quick, speaking of the Sin City studio, not only do they, I know we mentioned it at the beginning, but not only do they have the studio you're seeing here, but they also just expanded their studios and they've got stuff.
We see you guys
back as well. 2 or 3 different sets that people can come in and rent. I know Robin's back there right now getting set up for their next person coming in. So it's pretty, several epic sets. This one here, the good round table where you can fit a lot of different people in, but then they've got
it is sick.
2 or 3 other ones, a trading one, a sit down private conversation, multiple different people. It's a really, really awesome.
We're in the metaverse.
So appreciate
everybody.
In the metaverse.
And smash that like button. Make sure you subscribe to this channel. Make sure you subscribe to Sin City Crypto. We're going to have all the news. We're going to talk about JD Vance. We're going to talk about Charles Hoskinson, Bitcoin, DeFi. We're going to go to, rub some elbows and shoulders with some of the crypto elite here.
We're going to go rub each other.
Hell yeah.
That's what he's going to do.
This episode brought to you by Baby Oil.
Oh, my God. Diddy's going to be rolling over in his grave.
That's awesome. Adios.